It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. I hope that you're doing great on this beautiful, beautiful day. And I'm honored to be back with you here at Leadership is Influence. Again, my name is Paul Lawrence Vann. And what I want to talk about today is the amount of impact that leadership has on youth today. And the reason why I want to talk about youth today is for two reasons, maybe three. But I have two Generation Z children. One is a freshman in college, the other is in the 10th grade. And I know that many of you who are listening to these videos or watching these videos, that you are also part of Generation Z. And to me, it's a very, very important generation in which to speak to. So thank you all for being here today. So I'll be covering items that pertain to youth leadership. But before we get started, I'll just pass on just a bit about myself. I always like to do that on each video because I know that different people are watching it. And I want people to know a little bit about me. But who is this person that's sitting in front of me? Well, I'm a very engaged individual, meaning that I'm one of 10 children, born to two hardworking families. There were 5 girls and 5 boys. I was the oldest boy in the family. And so I've been working with youth all my life. And people think I'm joking, but I was parenting when I was a teenager. And I told my parents, I said, you know, you might have to pay me to help raise your children. No, I'm just kidding. I love my parents and all of my siblings. And but it's very important we talk about youth. And part of the things that I've done over the years in my leadership role as a part of community service is that I was at my children's school, which was in the past, it was Joint Base Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. And a new school started on the base. And it was a charter school, but they had never had a PTA. So for them, it's called a PTO, Parent Teacher Organization. And so they had an election, and the principal asked me, "Hey, I would love for you to put your name in the hat to run for office." There were 3 or 4 other people. And I figured, well, why not? He asked me on the day of the election, and I said, yeah, knowing that I would not be selected. And guess what happened? You guessed it, I was selected. And I not only served 1 year, but I served 2 years. And so I was working with youth there, and we brought in a lot of very dynamic programs onto the base, different things such as fundraisers. So the first year we raised $25,000. The second year, my second year as PTO president, and I went through an election for the second time, and we raised another $25,000. But I would do things such as bring the base commander to speak to the PTO, the parents, the students, and the teachers. And this is the individual who escorts the president to Air Force One. I brought on a bullying expert, one of the foremost authorities on bullying. So we brought that to the school because we like to have creative projects. We have the Scholastic Book Fair, and I headed up that one. And the first time that we held a book festival on the base, we raised $5,000 for Scholastic books. And then we had a fundraiser for selling candy. And then we had one for cookie dough, which was huge because there were competitions taking place all over the base for different organizations want to outdo the others. And guess what? We raised $13,000. So we had $50,000 over the course of 2 years, but it was great to pour into the students, great to pour into the faculty, the principal and the teachers, great to pour into the parents who were on the base as well. And it's not just military students, but they're also people from off base, like myself. Even though I'm an Air Force retiree, my children could attend because I had some prior service. And so I just want to pass this on because there are many great community activities out there. And one of the big programs I brought in some speakers. I brought in the Tuskegee Airmen, and they came in to speak. And so we have a lot of dynamic programs. We have family fitness night, and I would go off base and go to one of the local grocery stores, and they would donate these huge vegetable and fruit trays. And on the base, we would bring in things. One of the first events I hosted because we didn't have any money to start the PTO, but I took money out of my pocket. And I had a friend who was a chef who was also a Army veteran, and I cooked for the entire school. And after that, the PTO, or parent teacher organization, took off like a rocket in the air. And so it really got underway. And that's just to give you an idea of the importance of having that leadership. I had the leadership, and what I did, I shared it with the other PTO board members. So we had a president, vice president, we had a financial person, and a secretary, and we did a really great job. So let's talk a little bit about our youth and leadership and the value and the benefits that it provides. And I think it's very important that we work with youth. The younger they are, the better it is to teach them about leadership, because when they become a teen and then a young adult about to go to college or work for the first time, you want to have some exposure to what leadership is all about. So I'll talk about the first thing first, and that is it builds confidence. In the leadership role, you have to be very confident. Even if you're just starting out, if you reflect that you have confidence, over time, you can build up all the other strengths that you need to be a leader, the other leadership qualities, the traits, and the skills. You can build that over time. But if you show confidence from the very beginning, you're well on your way to becoming a successful leader. And so what this particular episode is all about is about Leaf. Leaf, did you hear that? Youth leadership. I got a little tongue-tied there. And what I was thinking about a program that I worked when I was in the Air Force. And what we had a program where we taught students how to start a couple of businesses. And so the youth learned finances and things like that, financial literacy. And so I was thinking about that program. And we had at this high school, it's called O'Fallon High School in Illinois, right across the bridge from St. Louis. And there were 300 students at this school that applied to become a member of Junior Achievement. And we could only select 30 because we had enough volunteers to just handle 30 students. And so we had two different organizations within the school, 15 on one side, 15 on the other in terms of the different groups. So one of the things that we did, we helped them to start to learn about finances. And what this did, it built confidence for them. Before the program started, and it was an after-school program, they really didn't know that much about how to handle finances, how to run a business. And so youth achievement was one of the things that they brought to the core. And it built a lot of confidence and also gave them a sense of responsibility. So one of the groups that I work with, they decided to purchase some items, kind of build those, put those items together on their team of 15 for one team, 15 for the other. And they would actually sell these items. They not only sold them at school, but also they sold them to people on the base. And that was Scott Air Force Base, where I was assigned at that time as a captain. And so with Junior Achievement, a lot of the students learn a lot of great leadership skills. And it's very important for youth to participate, because these youth development programs, when you start young, you can go the distance, whether it's in college or if you finish college, you also go into your professional career. But these things never leave you, even though you may not remember them, but they really do. So I really encourage that you to join some youth development programs as a part of leadership. And then the other thing that it does, and it reminds me of that Junior Achievement Program, is that the students learn really wonderful communication skills. Whereas in the past, they may not have caught the stride, if you will, because many people, and a lot of people don't know that I was an introvert growing up. In other words, even though I was from a family of 10 kids, I didn't talk a whole lot. And once I started communicating with people, things really opened up for me. And as a youth, it's very important that you have good communication skills because the world is about what today? It's really all about communication. And that communication could be in social media. It could be on campus. As we look at college or high school, they have an actual TV program that they run through Zoom or StreamYard, something of that nature, or they have a radio broadcast or a podcast. And so having good communication skills is pivotal. And also, there are a lot of speech competitions because I was in Toastmasters for about 5 years prior to retiring from the military. And it helped me to really put the foundation on my professional speaking career. And so when I used to be an introvert and it was hard to get me to talk, people thought there was something wrong with me, but there was nothing wrong with me. You know what I was doing? I was building my listening muscles. I really wanted to be a good listener. And I found out that as a leader, if you have good listening skills, the sky, not even the sky's the limit, because once you listen and you have clarity, you can better explain things. And then you can also find problems and you can find solutions by listening and then taking that creativity and that innovation and putting it to work. So this is what I want the youth to take from this. And then another thing it does, it builds a sense of responsibility because once a person finds and engages in something that they really like, they're passionate about, they can't wait to get started the next day or the next time they meet, and they can do some great things. And it reminds me of the time that I was on a 12-city speaking tour, and I spoke to at an organization, and the program is called Operation Purple, and it's for military youth who had parents who were deployed overseas, and they may have a deployment to Iraq or Afghanistan, wherever it may be. And I would go out and speak to them mostly about resilience. And what this does is to give them that sense of responsibility. Yes, your parent, one of your parents, are in some cases, both of your parents are gone, but there's something that you can do too. You can make them proud of you by doing good in school. And I know that it's stressful not having your parents with you, but you can volunteer in your community. You can really do great in school. You can join different committees at school for after school programs, whether it's sports or whether it's the debate team, whether it's the chess team, whatever it may be, but something of a positive nature. And not only will you be helping yourself, but you'll be helping others in the process. And so when it comes down to leadership, it can be done in many forms. As a volunteer, or some students I know when I was in high school, they would actually have jobs where they would leave in part of the day and they would go work for a couple of hours and then they still go on to school the next day. And so there are a lot of things to do there. And then it helps with that problem solving skill. So when I work with the youth, through my 12-city tour, and I'll talk to you about where I went. One of the locations I went was to Hawaii. I spoke at Pearl Harbor. I spoke in Seattle and Tacoma, Washington. I was in Great Falls, Montana. I was in Florida. I was in North Carolina, Georgia, Ohio, Utah, Pennsylvania, as well as Oklahoma. So I had quite a bit in Georgia as well. I had quite audiences, thousands of youth, and they were there. And so a lot of that resilience training also had to do with problem solving skills, because when you can solve some problems, and the youth of the day is just so intelligent. And you know why? They grew up with a smartphone, laptop, tablets, and they know all how to code, and they know how to communicate in different ways, and they don't wait around for someone to tell them what to do. They take the initiative, they take action. So they put what I call success in order. They have confidence and they have the action step. And so when it comes to a leader, these are some of the things that you need and some of the things that you want. And I know that one of the things that we garner from leadership is understanding not only our strengths, but also our weaknesses. Whereas one person may be strong as a communicator, another may not be. One can speak well, but they may not be able to write well. One can write well, may not be able to speak well. One gets on social media, you have to know what to write on there. and how to communicate to get people to follow you, to build your list, if you will, and have followers on Instagram, or you have followers on Twitter, Facebook, whatever it happens to be, Snapchat, WhatsApp, whatever it happened to be. And if you want to ask me, do I know how to use those tools? You betcha. I cannot let my children outdo me with these applications. Just kidding, but I use mine for business. And for many ways, it really helps me to engage with people I otherwise would not have been able to engage with. And so from a leadership standpoint, I have a podcast also. It's called Wealth Academy Podcasts. And what that podcast has done is allowed me to get an international following. So I have a lot of people in India that follow me. I've interviewed people from India. I interviewed people from Ecuador, from Jamaica, from Switzerland, from England, from Australia, from New Zealand, Canada, you name it. I interviewed people from all over, from Mexico, you name it. And again, it's a platform that's also about leadership. And I've interviewed so many people from Wall Street and other financial institutions, and they want me to interview them because they know that my podcast is strong, and they know that I will interview them well. But again, it's another leadership position. And I would encourage you all to start your podcast and start your YouTube, which I'm sure many of you do have already. And these avenues will help you to gain even greater strengths as well as greater weaknesses. Because when you do host a podcast or a YouTube channel, research is involved in the process. And so it's something that you want to understand. And so let's kind of go over some of the benefits again for those of you who are just coming in on this particular session. One of the things you want to do is join some of the youth development programs. I know 4-H has them, the Boys and Girls Club has them. There are just a number of youth development programs. I had my children in the First Tee program. And so both of my children competed in the drive, chip, and putt competition. They performed at the University of Maryland. And so they learn life skills and life lessons through that program. And so there are a lot of things that youth can do. And then you want to become active in the community. There may be some volunteer opportunities there. And as a part of my leadership programs, I always talk about if you're not a leader entitled at the job that you are, which many people aren't, you can still have leadership duties as a volunteer for an organization. So there's no doors are closed in terms of learning, and always keep your eye on who the leader by title is and try to learn from them, as long as they have some good leadership qualities and skills, and throw in the traits as well, things like character, things like courage, communication skills, negotiation skills, being able to communicate positively, having empathy, having understanding, and really bridging the gap, helping others to become leaders by developing them on your staff or as a part of the team. And what I want the youth to take is that you are leaders. You're not leaders of tomorrow, you're leaders of today. You know why? Oh, somebody raised their hand. You are a leader because you have to lead your life. That's why you're a leader. We're all leaders. And we may not look at ourselves as a leader, but we are. I am. You are as well. Your brother, your sister, your mom, your aunt, your uncle, grandfather, grandma, everyone is a leader. They're alive. They have to lead their life. And we know over time, it takes steps to do that. One of the volunteer programs that I worked on, and maybe something you may consider, is look at your governor's office in the state that you reside in, or a member of Congress, a senator, or a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, and see if they have some programs that you can participate in, because many of them do. After I retired from the Air Force, I worked for the governor of Maryland, and I worked on an immigration program for him. So the way this program worked out is people who already are from a different country, and they are living in the state of Maryland, And we tried to help them understand the importance. I worked on the financial working group committee. I helped them to set up and better understand how to set up banking, how to purchase a house, how to look at their taxes, and different things such as that. Because in a lot of countries, they don't have bank accounts because they don't trust the bank. They don't have banks like we have in the US where they would cover you through the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation for up to $250,000. A lot of people may have put money in banks from the countries they came for and they never saw it again. So those are some of the things we taught. And then I took a side volunteer opportunity, and it was to put financial literacy into schools for the entire state of Maryland. And it was Senate Bill 500, in which was passed, and it gave me the opportunity to meet and talk to different members of the state legislature to help get their support to get the bills passed. And it passed. And students in the senior year, they had to take an elective for financial literacy. Now, fast forward to today, now it's a requirement for students in the state of Maryland to graduate with financial literacy class as one of their credits. So things have changed, and it's helping the youth to better understand money, especially in today's economy and today's workplace and workforce. And so let me cover these again. I went a little bit off track, but I just wanted to pass on to you that the importance of youth, and that you develop these life skills, and you can join some youth development programs. It helps you to build confidence, a sense of responsibility, to understand your strengths and weaknesses, improve your communication skills, which we all need, and problem-solving skills, becoming active in your community, and then, of course, always stay active and stay vigilant. And when you do it and you learn it at a young age, it helps expose you to what leaders are today. And then you want to look at the leadership style that people have, and then you want to develop your own style and own form of leadership yourself. But I want to just share this with you today because I'm very passionate about helping our youth whenever I can. And I've participated in quite a few of the career day activities at different schools in the area where I live. I've been the keynote speaker for graduation ceremonies. I've spoken at colleges and universities, as well as Fortune 500 companies like when we look at MasterCard International, I've spoken with them, Department of the Air Force, and so many other organizations, Johns Hopkins University, and so many others. So this ends today's session, and I hope that you enjoyed. And this video is for our amazing youth, and especially our Generation Z, of which I have two, a son and a daughter, one in college and one 2 years out of close to graduating from high school. So thank you so much. My time is up, and I thank you for yours. And remember, have your family, friends, and your colleagues, have them to touch base with me. If they have any questions about leadership, I'd be glad to address them. Again, the name is Paul Lawrence Vann, and I host Leadership is Influence. On one of my previous sessions, I talked about my book, which is coming out, which is titled Leadership is Influence. Sounds kind of branding, doesn't it? Absolutely. But that's what I want to talk about. I'll see you on the next session of Leadership is Influence. Have a great day, and thank you so much for supporting my YouTube channel. Enjoy your day, and I'll talk to you later. Take great care, youth. You are our future.